Well, greetings everyone from beautiful Clipper Magazine Stadium, the jewel of North Prince Street, where here we are counting down the hours until the start of the Lancaster Barnstormers 2008 season. I am New Era sports editor Keith Schweigert. Alongside me, assistant sports editor, Barnstormers beat writer, and basically our expert in all things Barnstormers, Jason Guarente. Jason, you're back in town after spending a week with the Barnstormers in spring training at the Atlantic League's facility in Lakeland, Florida. You've had a chance to see them in action. Tell us what your impressions of the team are so far.
Well, my first thought was that they were going to be a pretty good offensive team with a powerful lineup, and I think that held true in spring training. They should score a lot of runs, although they've made some changes to the lineup since we got down there. They've lost outfielder Jason Perry to the Mississippi Braves in AA, and they released Dominic Ambrosini on Tuesday. So the lineup may not be as powerful as we expected, but it still should be very good. And the questions surround the starting rotation, the depth of that, and the bullpen, and the defense, which, to be honest, wasn't that great in camp, and they're looking to improve that.
Well, really, any kind of improvement will be a marked improvement over last year. I mean, by any other description, last year was pretty much a train wreck. And the team, to its credit, recognized that there was a problem. They spent the offseason really revamping everything from the top down. One of the biggest moves, of course, was getting in the new manager, Von Hayes, the former Philly, who most Phillies fans will remember as the Mr. 5-for-1. It's a name that will live in infamy in Philadelphia sports circles. But they also brought back Keith Lupton to serve as general manager and be in charge of player requirement, and he and Von have seemed to put together a good team here. But what most fans are interested in is Von Hayes' managerial style. What do you think fans can expect from him this year?
The one thing that came through with Von is that he was demanding, and he had the players do a lot of extra work. They ran rundown drills, bunt drills, had extra batting practice. He really wanted to create an affiliated environment and build his team around guys who were either recently in affiliated ball or have a chance to get back there. And that's something that was really lacking last season, where there were more players who were Indie League veterans who really didn't have a chance to get back. But these guys are really a lot closer to getting picked up, and he just wanted to establish that kind of feeling around the team.
He really does seem to have put his fingerprints all over this team, not only with the style of managing, but with the players that he's procured, or that he and Keith Lupton have procured. Who are some of the bigger additions to the team this year, and what can you tell us about them?
Well, the biggest addition is Matt LaCroix. He's a designated hitter / first baseman, played parts of the last 8 seasons with the Minnesota Twins, a right-handed power hitter. He should really be the cleanup man they didn't have last year, and he should be head and shoulders above a lot of the talent in this league. I mean, I'll be surprised if he's not one of the best hitters in the league. The other addition is an outfielder named Brian Stavisky, who has really good AA numbers, played with Von in Midland, and he has a 400 on-base percentage in AA, and that should translate well to this league. He's probably the most likely to go as far as position players, and he's one of Hayes' favorites. I think one thing you'll see with Von is that he's surrounding himself with guys that he knows and guys that he believes in. Guys like Vasily Spanos, who played third base for him in AA, and obviously Stavisky's another one.
It seemed like last year, at least initially, the Barnstormers tried to recapture some of that magic from the 2006 championship team by bringing back most, if not all, of the stalwart players from that squad. And as we know, it didn't work out too well for them. Do you think they found the right mix this year? Because they did bring back a few of the better-known veterans, from seasons past, like Lance Burkhart. Danny Gonzalez was a recent addition to the team, and Jet Heilman, the outfielder. Do you think they have the right mix of personnel, where there's some people that fans will recognize, but also all these new faces?
They may have. It remains to be seen, but I think they took the right approach in that if you have guys who've been in the Atlantic League too long, I think they lose an edge, and they're no longer focused on getting out. They're just playing because they like to play. And that's a big difference. And I think teams that have too many of those guys struggle to get through adversity, and when things go wrong, maybe they can't get themselves out of it. And that's what happened with last year's team. It just snowballed until they were basically a non-factor in the race. But now there are more of those AA, AAA guys, more guys in the 27-year-old range who are, real close to being an affiliated ball. Maybe they were the last cut in spring training, and they're just in the wrong organization. And those are the guys you win with, and they have a lot of those. So we'll see if that's the right mix.
Having said that, of the guys who are coming back, the Lance Burkharts and Judd Heilman and guys like that, do you think that they're going to be key contributors to the team this year?
Well, Burkhart will be. He's one of those guys that'll never lose an edge. He's super intense, and I don't think you have to worry about him. And Heilman's one of the best center fielders in the league, and he'll give you good defense and pretty good offensive numbers. But those guys aren't going to be the central figures of the team this year like they were last year, where Heilman was batting third or fourth and Burkhart was batting fifth or sixth. Now they're maybe farther down in the lineup, and there are guys like LaCroix and Stavisky who will really be the focal points of the offense. And that, when you deepen the lineup, it makes everybody better, because you're not counting on Judd Heilman to be your cleanup guy. You're counting on him to be a complementary part of the team, and that makes a big difference.
I know Von Hayes decided to juggle the batting order a lot during spring training to try to get a look at guys in different situations, but from what you know, can you take us from top to bottom along the order and fill us in on who's going to be where and what they're expected to do?
Well, it's hard to say. I think the lineup's going to change depending on the pitching matchup, and I think they're not done tweaking the roster, so the names are going to change. But I would expect Mike Woods to bat leadoff and Danny Gonzalez to probably be in that two-hole, just like last year. That's a pretty good fit. Gonzalez will play either shortstop or second base, and Woods might play some outfield this year. And then Stavisky in the three-hole. Matt LaCroix will bat cleanup. And then after that, it gets interesting. They have a bunch of guys who are all sort of in the same boat. I mean, they could bat Burkhart fifth, maybe Ian Blattergrone, who's a first baseman they got from the Road Warriors, perhaps they bat him in the sixth slot, and you have Vasily Spanos, who I mentioned is the third baseman, and then you have Judd Heilman, and you have the shortstop John Nelson, who played briefly in the big leagues with the Cardinals, who probably bat ninth.
As we said, Danny Gonzalez was something of a recent addition to the team. He was here last year and parts of the season before. They seem to have a void at shortstop that they needed him to fill. How much playing time do you think he's going to have now that he is back with the team? And what do you expect from him?
I think he'll play every day. I think it's just a question of whether he plays second base or shortstop. And I think they have three guys who play the middle infield: Mike Woods, John Nelson, and Gonzalez. And they're going to rotate them in, with Gonzalez being the guy who's in the lineup every day because of his defense. That was the one thing, is that the infield defense was not very good in spring training. And one reason they brought Gonzalez back was to improve that. So I would expect him to be in the lineup. Nelson will only play shortstop, maybe a little third base, and they'll use Woods in the outfield because he's incredibly fast and he has a lot of range to cover the big left field here at the Clipper.
As is the case in any level of baseball, a lot of what your fortunes are going to rest upon is going to be the pitching. What can you tell us about the rotation and the bullpen this year, and what the Barnstormers did to address needs there?
Well, Zach Parker's the #1 starter. He's the ace, and I think they'll be okay with him. He's not overpowering. He's a left-hander, throws about 88 miles an hour, good cut fastball. I think he had a 2.49 ERA in this league, so I think he'll be fine. After that, it gets a little bit shakier. Tim McClaskey will probably be the #2 starter. He played in Reading. He only pitched 60 innings last year because of an illness. The #3 starter is Mike Nannini, who's a lot of AAA time, but he's bounced around a lot the last few years. Eric Ackerman's Calico grad. He's been in the bullpen for the Barnstormers the last 2 years. He'll be the 4th starter. And the 5th guy is a player named Ricardo Gomez, who was signed out of the South Coast League. He was supposed to be in the bullpen, but he was throwing 92 in spring training, and he really impressed them. Guys were gathering around the radar gun when he was firing it up there. So he'll be the 5th guy. It's just a question of whether he maintains that velocity deep into games. But they're going to take a shot with him. The rotation could go either way. I mean, if it breaks right and some of these guys perform well, it could be good. But it's not real deep, and it wouldn't be shocking if it went the other way and it wasn't very good. It's hard to predict because none of these guys pitched a full season as starters last season. Now the bullpen is just in a state of flux right now. Sendy Real was supposed to be the closer. He's a former Orioles pitcher, but he's not here because of visa problems in the Dominican. Jose Cabrera was supposed to be the setup man, same story. Now they expect to get those guys shortly into the season, and they'll be on the inactive list until they arrive. But the problem is that they really don't know what they're going to be like when they get here because they haven't pitched in spring training. So Ryan Cullen, a left-hander, will probably be the closer until those two arrive. And it's really hard to predict how the bullpen will go until you see Real and Cabrera, who are supposed to be big parts of it.
Jason, it seems like one of the priorities for Von Hayes and Keith Lupton was also making sure that they had a deep bench that they could draw players from in case you have an outfielder get called up, to affiliated ball or something, or there are injuries or something along those lines. Have they accomplished that, and who are some of the players that we can look at to contribute out of the dugout?
Well, the bench is definitely better than last year, where it was one of the weak spots of the team. The backup catcher is named Manny Mejia. He played for the Road Warriors last season. A good hitter, pretty decent defensive catcher, so he'll be an upgrade behind Lance Burkhart, who's the starter. And then you have Lloyd Turner, who's sort of a jack of all trades. He can play second base, he can play shortstop, he can play the outfield, really fast. Will probably play a lot against left-handed pitching. And you need one of those guys on the Atlantic League team because you don't have a deep bench. They're also going to sign an outfielder named Jared Ball, that's the rumor, and that will give them 4 outfielders. So one of them obviously won't be in the lineup. You have Heilman, you have Ball, you have Stavisky, and then you also have Mike Woods who can play the outfield. So one of those guys will be on the bench on a given day, which is a good asset to have. And Ian Blattergrone, the first baseman, will be on the bench when LaCroix plays first. So the guys who they will be bringing into the game off the bench are vastly superior to last season, where the depth of talent just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like the Barnstormers are certainly going to improve on their fortunes from last year. Talent-wise, it looks like they're a better team, but word around the Atlantic League is everybody's pretty much saying that at this point. There were a lot of guys out there that didn't get signed with affiliated ball, so everybody loaded up this year. What do you think the keys to the season are for the Barnstormers to, make it through this deeper field of opponents that they're going to be running into?
Well, the team they have right now should be competitive, and I think it would probably have a winning record, but the team they have right now they won't have for very long because that's just the nature of the league. So the key in this league is always how well you replace the players that you lose. So if they were to lose someone like Stavisky or someone like Zach Parker, can they get another pitcher, another outfielder without a big drop-off? And if they do that, then I would expect them to be successful and probably in the race.
Okay. Well, you've broken everything down for us, and now it's time to put you on the spot. I won't hold you to a record prediction, but what do you think the Barnstormers' chances are this year?
I think they will be in contention. I think it'll be extremely difficult in their division, which has Somerset and Newark, which played in the championship series last year, and also has York, which has a new player procurement operation as well. I think they'll be in it. Do I think they can win? If things break right, I think they could win the division, but right now it's really difficult to say because everything's in such a state of flux. I'll be very surprised if they're not significantly better than last year's team, which was 12 games under 500 and was really never a factor in the race. I think we won't see that. We'll see them in the race much longer than last season.
Well, fans, there you have it. We thank you for joining us here in our enhanced coverage of the Lancaster Barnstormers. Be sure to check out our website, www.lancasteronline.com, for more information on the Barnstormers this season. Thank you very much.